here, so let's go ahead and try this real quick. So I'm going to go in here, turn the fan on, hit record. Let's turn everything off here. So let's jump back into where our 20 degree was, and we can obviously see it's showing it's a little bit rich. We need to take some fuel out. Let's take a look at our graph, and then we'll review our data and start to make our changes. So taking a look at our dyno graph, 177 horsepower, 158 torque. Now we need to do the overlay to really determine what's going on here. But if I had to guess, we're definitely losing a lot of power on the top end, probably above 5,500. Now recall we did add some fuel on the bottom end and the mid-range as we were making our changes across these rows here. So we need to back a little bit of this out in our last three columns here. But let's jump in here and to take a look at our graph and do the overlay. Let's go into our dyno pool here. We'll say this 20 degree VTC pool, so we'll change that to 20 and click save. And we'll go here to the analyze function, switch over to the analyze, and take a look at this. So we can see here that the yellow line is our 20 degree, the red line is our 10, and the blue line is our 0. So we're seeing in our yellow, we've gained up to about 5,200, and then the yellow starts to lose power over the red, which is our, in this case, 10 degree, and then the blue beats it out on the very top at 0 degree. So we're seeing that we're gonna probably be able to start, now we're not gonna do it yet, but we're gonna start to be able to build out our cam composite blend if we choose to do so. I'm gonna wait until we do the 30 degree. Now, because we're not seeing a massive jump from, as we saw, from the 0 to 10, so the blue to the red to the yellow, we're not seeing a very large change right there. So this is probably gonna be pointing towards going from 20 to 30, not really giving much of any gains. And this is a lot to do with the exhaust setup here. It's backing up on the exhaust side, so we're not able to see those pretty large jumps going up in the variable cam timing. So this looks pretty reasonable. It is what it is. We can't really change it unless we change the exhaust. Let me go back here. Let's flip back over. Let me get the dyno back into its, oh, you know what? I'm going to flip back into the main screen here because we are going to be doing our part throttle in the 30 degree and then doing the 30 degree full throttle pull. So I don't need to go back in the dyno screen right now. So let's go ahead and clean up some things. I'm just going to go across here and make some editing changes. We're going to do 2% here. We're going to go across here and do about a 3% change here. Here's about a 1%, 2%, here's a 4%, and here's a 5%. So we're definitely editing and making our changes and getting these updates done. Now looking at our knock count, it looks like that knock count didn't pick up. It's still 4, so let's look at that pool right here. So all of the knock count generated at this low RPM, just as it always seems to happen, but as we go up through the pool here, we're about 24 degrees of timing, and that knock level looks pretty straightforward. It doesn't look like there's any massive spikes or jumps, so that looks good. That's kind of what I'm looking at in the trend in the data as we get up into the higher RPM. Now I want to mention something. There's the knock control, the way it's going to work is it has a low pass amplifier at the lower RPM. We can see that knock output's much greater compared to the high RPM. There are two different essentially multiplying type of effects going on here with the knock sensor. So the way Honda does this, they have a low pass multiplier that's going to be the lower RPM, and then they have a higher RPM multiplier. There is a higher multiplier applied at the low RPM and a lower multiplier applied at the high RPM because the amplitude of the knock sensor is completely different. So low RPM, traditionally, the knock sensor output would be very quiet. So Honda goes in and applies a higher multiplier gain factor on the low end to amplify that, to really give a more pronounced output of the knock sensor to be able to detect things. And then the higher RPM, they back it down because the natural increase of engine RPM, we get an engine noise pickup, and as a result, we're finding that at the very high engine speeds, the knock sensor is going to output more amplitude. So that's why you see the trend here where it's very, very high on the low end and lower on the high end. That's that multiplier type of effect. We have no ability to touch that or change anything with that, but that is going on, and that's pretty traditional for most OEM ECUs. They have some type of a multiplier gain factor applied for low-end scaling versus high RPM scaling. So looking at this, I'm going to be saying that just based on the trend, we're not seeing any, again, massive spikes.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.